Welcome back to the Fly Culture Podcast with me, Pete Tigers. If you were the angler who was setting up to fish the Clyde on the road to Biggar this morning at about 7:45, it was me who hooted and waved furiously at you, and thank you for the wave back as well. I hope you had a good day's fishing and that you caught a few fish too. I've driven all the way from Devon. I've overnighted in Cumbria, slept in the van, and then have driven up to Aberdeen to fish the Don. This is a trip that's been a long time planning. I've got my dog Monty with me. We slept overnight, not too badly actually, and the drive has been fun. I used to do this drive a fair bit actually, fishing the Devon for a number of years, and it was places that I remembered so well as we headed up, and made a few stops just to stretch our legs, have a cup of coffee, but we've got here in good time. We're just sitting down. I'm at the stage where I want to go running to the river, but I'm just trying to relax for a little bit and then see if I can find a few fish. The wind's blowing a little bit here. It's going to be interesting to see how it is when I get down to the river and how things play out. But there's lots planned for these next few days that I'm going to try and condense into one episode for you. And I hope you're going to enjoy this little road trip that I'm making with my dog. Before I head to the river, I thought it was a good idea to speak to the person who owns the section that I'm going to be fishing today. So I'm with Jason Bone. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about where we are today?
Well, we're just up near Inverary and half an hour from Aberdeen or so, come west. And we're on the River Don, and we're a very short, what you might call an ideal run between the big water and the small water on the middle river. And we're about just under 700 yards of beat with 4 salmon pools, which fortunately at the moment with the very dry weather are still holding water and fish, but it's been some torrid weather of late. We haven't had much rain for 3 months, 6-week spell of no rain, and then 20 millimetres, and then we're just coming up to another 6-week spell of no rain. So it's been hard going on the fish. So what we've done at the moment is to stop all fishing from back a couple of weeks ago, just to give the salmon time to recover that are in the pools at the moment.
I like that sort of talk immediately as well. And of course there's the trout, because the Don is well known as a trout fishery as well, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, there used to be an awful lot of fish in the Don, and there was a chap called Patton who lived at Granholm who did a huge amount of work to clean up the river a few years ago, and the river is in a very healthy condition compared to some other rivers in Scotland. Very underrated, the Don. It's almost like a closed secret. But you ask any true trout fishermen if they know the Don, and they all lament with a romantic ideal of what the Don is. And it is true. You know, there are beautiful trout in there, and some say, I'm not being biased obviously, but some say that it's probably one of the best trout rivers in the world.
I'm very, very looking forward to that. It was interesting what you said about the size of the river as well, because as I was driving into you, it looked a much smaller stream, yet suddenly widens out, doesn't it? It does take on a different character quite quickly. Yeah,
we're very fortunate. So we are on the sort of dividing line on the mid-Don. So the pools above us, Castle Forbes, are much larger, hold a much larger proportion of fish than we do in the length of their pools. But we seem to sort of be at the crossroads for the river, where it goes from large pools, which we have at the top of the beach, down to smaller pools down below with white water. So we're very lucky.
I'm very much looking forward to that. Hopefully there might be the chance. The wind's blowing a little bit at the moment, but I'm hopeful that there might be the chance of a rising trout or two. I'm going to go down and have a look. And it sounds like it's going to be quite an exciting few days as well. Very much looking forward to Tuesday, and you put together a fun evening.
Yes, I'm not sure. You'll ever get away scot-free. They're an interesting bunch. They're all for the good of the river. They're a bunch that are very passionate and committed to fishermen and the industry as well.
And you'll recognise some of the names as well. Some have been guests on the podcast too, and there's one I've been trying to tie down. Whether he's going to let me poke a microphone in his face, I very much doubt, but I'm going to try. I'm going to be out there working for you listeners, so hopefully we might be able to get to speak to him at some stage. But the fishing, if people, Jason, were interested in visiting the area and wanted to fish, how can they find you?
We only use FishPal just because it's the easiest one-stop shop for everybody. And the same with Castle Forbes as well. And we sort of marry up quite well. And but we try not to overexpose ourselves by being with every sporting agent, etc., in order to keep things simple for people. And
if people want to find you on FishPal, what should they look up?
If they go to the Scottish tab and then the River Don, and both Castle Forbes and ourselves, Tilliefoure Fishing, are listed on there on the Middle Don.
That's great, Jason. Thank you so much. I'm going to head down. I'm going to do my best to describe to you how the river's looking, what's happening. I've got Monty with me, so I'm really excited to show him a different river as well. And we'll see if we can find a trout or two. So first impressions is I like very much. The river is very clear. I'm guessing it's very low given what Jason said and some of the reports I've had. It's super nicely cared for as well. That I don't mean it's manicured or anything, but there's a clear path to walk along. It's an easy step into the river. It doesn't look super deep either. The dog's enjoying it as he walks in front of me. Yeah, it doesn't look deep at all. I wonder if I can bring somebody up. When I was parking the van, I did see a fish rise, so I've kind of got him marked as well. You never know that something could happen down there. And I'm looking at a pool now. I could imagine with a lot more water on it that it would be a great salmon pool. River's about 60 feet across. Our side of it, so as I look downstream, I'm walking along the left bank. On the far side, there's some rocks poking out of the water, some more sizable rocks that are poking out the water, but the shallower side is here. I can see the far side, a nice glide. I'm already playing through in my mind, okay, if I see a fish rise or if I cover that, how am I going to do that? Do I need to put a big mend in? Yes. Do I need to add some more slack in? Yes. Other things I've noticed straight away. So, I'm just not seen this before, but there are not many bugs around. There's a little bit of a blow at the moment. I wonder if that's got something to do with it. You may be able to pick that up in the background as well. So I may look for signs of some rising fish, but we'll see. If not, if I have to mix things up a little bit, then I might do that. But yeah, it looks really, really pretty. Just feel as though you're away from everything as well. It really is lovely. It's been something I've been looking forward to for such a long time. I've seen one bug now. Look, could be a granum. Could be a granum, actually. Been looking forward to this for a really, really long time. So I'm just trying to pace myself, take it all in, enjoy it. The fish hopefully aren't going to go anywhere. I'm scanning the water looking for signs of anything, but I can see the bottom very, very clearly. think I'm just going to follow the path down to the bottom and then fish my way back. That seems to be the sensible option. I suspect it's not too far down here, but I'll have a look here, and I might just prospect the water, might go for a bring 'em up pattern, see if that works, and then perhaps in some of the heads of some of these pools I might be tempted to hang a nymph off the back. I haven't brought a nymphing rod down to the river with me. I have one in the van. I don't know if I'm going to use one or not. We'll see. We'll see. I'm wondering in some of these little runs whether a duo might do everything I need it to do, but I'll keep you informed. There's some birds working over the water, which I take as a positive, so there must be something coming off as well, so I'll watch that. I'm excited to step in now. I'm probably going to shake a little bit as I tie my fly on, and we'll see what happens. Been standing in the river about 20 minutes or so. Made some speck casts with a fly I have a bit of faith in, but nobody coming up. There's been a couple of things I'm learning and I'm noticing. Whenever that wind eases, I see a few once arises from small fish. I've seen a couple of yellow maize on the water, and I've seen one danica as well, so a green drake. The rises that I'd seen from these little guys have been splashy ones, but very often those small fish tend to be splashier rises anyway. So I've put on a mayfly emerger. It's one I was using on the test recently with good effect, and it's quite yellow, and I'm hoping if they do eat the yellow maize here that it may come into play. I'm sort of concentrating on the far bank to me. There's some slack water that is probably a cast of 20 foot away. Wind's just eased now, so I'm going to wait and see if there is something rising. As I said, they tend to be onces. It's not like the same fish rises every time the wind stops. And like I say, I barely watch them laughing. Monty is standing on one rock out of the water, watching intently for something to happen. And while I was changing my flies, I looked back towards my bank and I've seen a real sticky, there's a run in against that side too, and there's a real sticky, scummy line that goes down my bank as well, the true left as you would look downstream, but of course I'm coming upstream, so I'm sort of scanning that as well. As I said, there's been a little break in the wind. It's quite a strong wind. I'm fishing my 9.5 foot 3 weight, so I think about my casting a little bit as well, and I'm angling my cast flatter and the trajectory a little bit so that it turns over, and I'm still fishing my standard 12-13 foot leader, and it's turning over fine at the moment. But yeah, I'm just sort of standing, I guess I'm mid-river really, looking at that far bank, but looking up the river for any signs that, like I say, the bugs, there's not many of them at all, and my latest fly change is based on the 3 flies I've seen and the rises from those smaller, splashier fish. So I do like that scummy bit of water. There's like a nice back eddy that's got all scummy sort of stuff in it. It's not pollution, it's just a bit scummy. And that must hold bugs as well. So I'm sort of keeping my fingers tightly crossed that somebody pokes a nose up in there. Even with this wind easing here, I've not seen anyone rise just yet. But I'm going to just take my time and look for a few more clues. But I may, that sort of my side of the river, I'd like to spec it, but my gut's saying hang on and wait and see what happens. And it may be I get out, walk up a little bit. And if I see signs of fish moving more consistently, of course I'm going to have a go at those, but that's going to be in my mind. It just feels like something might happen there. Of course, I don't know how deep it is, and it is a kind of a sensory overload that I'm trying to take everything in and cast to, of course, a rising fish if I see one, but see if it's worth bringing one up to give me an idea of where fish might be. There's defined bubble lines, so I'm working those. But I think the rising fish are more likely to be in this stickier, flatter water. But I've seen nothing happening in this latest bout of windlessness, if that's a term. I might just wait a little bit longer. Monty's still on his rock, so he's quite happy at the moment. And we'll see. But no bugs. There's no real bugs to go at right now. Well, I've learned some things. One was that I thought I'd throw the fly where I'd seen one of those oncers go, and the little fellow came up and hit the fly. Didn't stick. I don't know if it was too big for him. It was a tiny little fish, I think. Then I've started to work my way across a little bit to look at this scummy line, dropped a fly down, that mayfly emerger still, and amazingly little fish took it. So that's only a small fish, but it's a special one for me because it's the first one I've ever caught on the Don. So I'm kind of excited about that. That was the biggest break I've had without the wind. It's just getting up again at the moment. But moral victory. Probably only about 10 minutes or so since I last pressed the record button, and I'd worked my way up that scummy bit that I've been telling you about. Nothing was happening in there. It was deeper than I thought, and it was the run in, which is obviously a lovely salmon pool when there's a bit more water. But because of that run in, I thought, well, I could try the dry in there and it might work, but sod it. Let's just hang a nymph off the back, and I put just a pheasant tail 2 or 3 feet down. Was sort of high sticking it in. Had a fish, nice fish. The thing I'm learning is how strong they are as well. That was probably £1.25. That one went back. Flipped again a little bit further up. Nice positive take. Fish a little bit bigger, £1.50 perhaps. Actually pulled line off the reel quite aggressively as well. I had to chase it a little bit. Took me by surprise. I've got to be honest, I thought it was a much bigger fish. I'm happy with that fish, I don't mind at all. And the other side of the run, I thought, right, okay, let's throw on the other side of the run. There's some slack water there. And a fish came up and ate the dry fly as well. So I'm only hanging it off the back, the nymph, but it didn't seem to put the fish off eating the dry, which it did. About £1 or so, again incredibly strong. So I'm pretty happy. I'm having a walk upstream. I'm going to leave that for a little bit, just having a little bit of an explore with Monty as the wind's eased now. You can hear the birds singing. I think there's stuff going to happen. So I'm going to have another look at some other spots. I haven't really seen a great deal so far, so I want to figure out where I need to be for the right sort of moments, and then I may have a look back because I didn't fish all of that run, and that was really good fun. I haven't fished duo for ages, and high sticking it as well was really good fun. I've sort of made this decision. The water's it's very, very low, very, very low. And it doesn't feel cold to me. At home, it's felt cold. Certainly not warm water. It's early season water, so it's not roasting hot or anything like that. But I've decided that I'm going to leave the nymphing outfit out of it. So my concession with nymphs will be purely under a dry or just fished on its own upstream. But as I look up, the depth, the pool I'm working up or walking up past isn't very deep at all. There's some trees in the next pool up a little bit further that look like they could be a good spot. So I'm going to perch myself down for a few moments, see if anyone rises. Wind's come back up again. You might hear it in the background. Monty's loving it. He's realised some of these spots are not like our river at home. He doesn't know it like me, but a little bit deeper. So he's sort of realised actually it's okay not to wade upstream with me. He's always with me. He's always by my side, never goes too far. but I think he's realised perhaps it's a little bit too deep. So he's happy wandering along the bank, and yeah, I've seen another nice spot as well. So there's some lovely spots here actually. So yeah, I'm gonna walk to the top of the beat, have a look round, see if I see anything move, see if I get any further clues as well. But it looks really, really lovely. I'm having the time of my life. I've no idea how long I've been fishing. I don't think it's been that long, but yeah, there's some upwings about as well. I don't think it's been that long, probably an hour, something like that, or I've been here an hour, but I'm really, really enjoying it. Again, new water just keeps you on your toes, keeps you thinking, keeps you watching, thinking about the fly choices, the things that you've got to do. And it's nice to be able to do this. I'm really, really, really enjoying it. Fished up near the top of the beat and had some fun. There was a fish that was a more consistent riser. Most of them this afternoon have been oncers. Wind eased back a little bit. Looked like there was some olives on the water, but the way this fish was rising, and I saw it rise 3-4 times, looked as though it was perhaps a little earlier in the hatch and was eating emergers or something just in the film. Covered it a few times, tried a couple of different emergers, absolutely no response. And then I noticed that the next rise, the fish had travelled a little bit further, and I immediately thought perhaps that's another fish. And then it went again back where it was previously, and it made me wonder whether it was travelling a little bit and it was something worthwhile, which immediately made me think of Peter and Don and their theory about casualty duns and how fly that's not hatched, because there's been a hatch of olives and there's been plenty of them on the water, but how they will take the one that hasn't hatched correctly or properly, a casualty. So tied one on, covered the fish, and it ate it, which was great. And it was fun. I just enjoyed trying to figure it out, work it out, and then thinking about it a little bit. And lo and behold, I got lucky and I hooked the fish, played it for a bit, and it came off. It wasn't a particularly big one, and that didn't matter. It was just such a nice moment for that to happen. Monty came and woke me up early, about 5:30. So I got up, had a drink of water, wandered down, tried to get back to sleep for a bit. But you know what it's like when you're on a fishing trip. You want to go fishing, don't you? So we had some breakfast and headed down to the river. It wasn't even 7 o'clock. My thought was that there might be the chance of a spinnerful. I'd seen a fair few olives last night. I thought there might be the fall in progress. So I thought there might be an opportunity to have a look at that. Hasn't transpired that way. I spent time wandering the river, looking to see if there are any rising fish or not. There wasn't. So the first run, where I started yesterday afternoon, I put on a sizable caddis. I saw one as I was putting my waders on, so I thought, well, what the hell? Brought a fish up, small one, 8-9 inches, something like that, which was great. Got to the head and I thought, oh man, let's hang that nymph again and see what happens. And I've had a bunch of fish out of there. The thing that I'm taking from it is how strong they are as well, comparable to home. Really, really strong. I don't know if it's because it's a bigger, stronger river that the fish are stronger. I don't know, but they breed them tough here, that's for sure. So I've had what I felt was enough fish out of there. I'm not looking to catch every fish in the pool. I think I had 4 or 5 and thought that was fair enough and worked further upstream. But in that pool, it seemed to me as though the fish would, I kind of guess where you'd expect them to be, on the flatter seams, but right up by the head there as well, sort of working up through the riffle, as it were. There wasn't much going on there at all. It was only when I got nearer to the head that I started connecting with some fish. Wandered up to the next pool, did a similar sort of thing. I looked for signs of rising fish. Actually, one I'm talking to you now, I'm sat on a bench looking at the river, and I think I've seen one rise. Similar sort of story as yesterday, and we'll see. I suspect I might have to be patient with that, but had 2 more fish and dropped one as well, so that was absolutely fine. I'm really, really happy with that. Like I say, I thought I'd chat with you for a while because I forgot the mic as well. I was a bit excited, so I wandered down to the bottom of the water without the mic. For listeners and readers of the magazine, got an apology that we're probably going to be a tiny bit behind schedule. And one of the reasons is that I'm here on the Don, and lo and behold, I bumped into John Ogborn, designer, friend, podcaster, and his buddy and my buddy Peter Coleman Smith, who you'll know both of them from the Fishtolian podcast as well that we hosted for them. And they're up here, and it was pure coincidence that our trips overlapped. But the guys are on their last day, and I said, well, why don't you come over and have a fish? But it's been lovely to see you both. Caught some fish. Have you had a good trip, John?
We've had a hard trip. It's been great. It's been really nice. The fishing was pretty hard for the first 3 days. We had we had to pick our beats with the wind, basically, because it's, you had to get it behind you, otherwise you didn't stand a chance. So that restricted the beats we could go on, and we fished lower down because the water, as over the whole of the UK, is very low. We figured, okay, there'll be more water lower down on the system. So the first 3 days were hard. Yesterday, or was it this morning, we switched to an upper beat, and we did all right. We did okay, actually. We had one bigger fish. Where was that? I've forgotten where that was now. Oh yeah, that's right. Just above Alford, yeah. So, and it's so beautiful here, isn't it, Pete? It's absolutely gorgeous. Love it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a stunning location, and it's great to see the guys here. And you've been catching some fish as well, Peter.
Yeah, we've had loads. I'm waiting for the big one. John's had some better ones than me, but yeah, dry flies a go-go. It's been great.
And so it's a long journey back. You're going via Glasgow down and then making a long drive because the guys live in Bristol. So Southwest is well represented up here. Well, today certainly, but it's that long drive back, isn't it?
It is. It's going to take. Well, we're breaking it in two. My younger brother lives in Glasgow, and so we'll stay overnight there, and then head off back home tomorrow. I always enjoy the journey, through the hills, and then you get past the lakes, and then you see the Pennines, and it goes south from there. It's all Birmingham and madness.
I kind of feel that I'm on the way home though when I see sort of Manchester, and then when you get on the M5, then you start to feel I'm on my way now. But the interesting thing I've been thinking about as well is the come down afterwards as well, isn't it? That you don't, and that Peter and I were just talking about politics. We were talking about all sorts of stuff. And I was saying that I've not looked at the news. I've not really barely looked at socials. I've only looked because people have been sending me some messages of information. And it's funny, isn't it? That readjustment that you get into the routine while you're up here, and the two of you, and I'm sure you have your share of the car each. Everything's carefully divided. So you have a side each of, and then when you get back, you have to get back into the normal routine again. And it's an interesting challenge, isn't it?
I always feel like work is like being 100 miles an hour on a roundabout in a playground, and then you jump off to stillness and this, and mindfulness, and you're in the moment all day. That's the great thing about fly fishing is you've got to be in the moment. You're concentrating and everything else goes. And then you get home, you have to jump back on again, and immediately you're going at 100 miles an hour. And the older I get, the harder that gets. I know I've got a lot of work sat waiting for me that needs attending to. Being self-employed, I'm not complaining about that, but just that kind of acclimatizing period takes a bit longer and longer every time you do it,
Absolutely, and that reset, because coming up to places like this, it's a proper reset, isn't it? That you do clear your mind and soul of everything, don't you?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, for me, my mum is aging and poorly, and I'll have some stuff to deal with when I get back. So it's been a lovely few days.
And it's been great to see the guys, their positivity, enthusiasm and love for fly fishing is really wonderful to experience with them. Monty and I have just walked along the bank. I've smoked a cigar, cheered them on, tried not to go, yep, if I see a rise or something, tried not to do anything, and just hopefully the guys enjoyed that. The wind's come up a tiny bit, but we'll see what happens, see if we can find some rising fish. Where we started, where I met the guys, there was some fish rising there earlier, and I think we're going to have a wander up and see if we can find one or two. Just had a wonderful evening that Jason has put on with the great and the good of fly angling from the Don. And I'm standing talking with Will Peake from Twin Peaks Fly Fishing. We've been having a wonderful conversation because he's been in and around fly fishing for such a long time now, and I've really enjoyed talking about fishing with him and working in fishing and what goes into it and the hard work. And Will, I was really interested to know what you're thinking, how fly fishing, 'cause you and your brother have an extremely busy business, but I'm always asking this question, how fly fishing is actually looking right now and the feel of fly fishing as a whole. How do you see it right now?
Thanks, Pete. I think fly fishing as a whole, I think it's on the up. I think a lot of new people are getting into the sport. I think we're in a world of iPhones and screens. I think people are looking for escapism more. I think post-COVID, golf, fly fishing and cycling are three sports that did incredibly well off the back of it. And we run a fly fishing school, so I suppose we see it slightly more under a microscope, in the sense that a lot of people come to us to get into the sport. And we think it's, absolutely great. The salmon numbers are not where they were 20 years ago, but actually the culture, it becomes less about the numbers and more about the journey, the casting journey, spending time on the water. And actually we just know now that we have to work really hard to catch a salmon, and I suppose that just elevates the experience when you do. I think it's great, and I think the world has never been smaller, and I think it can take us to some amazing parts of the world, and we can meet some amazing people. I think it's doing very well at the moment.
And you talked about the salmon situation, you talked about the booms, the post-COVID boom, or the COVID and post-COVID booms. Where you're sort of situated, are you seeing those sort of swing away more from salmon to trout, or is it still as it's always been? And of course we've seen growth in areas like the saltwater as well for the bass and the mullet, but do you feel that those core pastimes of trout and salmon are still deeply entrenched with what you're looking at and what you're involved with, or do you keep eyes on other things as well?
I think that's a really interesting question. I think there is still a bit of a divide, and it's kind of a good divide, that some salmon anglers they're just salmon junkies, and trout guys are just into their trout. I find it, you don't often turn a trout guy into a salmon guy, but the salmon anglers will start looking at trout. Al and I have always been fortunate. We started off with trout. Salmon was always the journey or where we wanted to get to, but we never lost that love affair with trout. So I think if we can keep those two things, in Aberdeen, we haven't had rain in 2 months at the moment, so I'm loving my days trout fishing, and I'm really struggling with my days salmon fishing at the moment, and that's just the nature of it, with conditions dependent. And I think being able to go abroad, and it doesn't matter what your quarry or what your species is, does it? It doesn't matter what your sport is. It can just take you to some really cool places. And you met Jerry earlier. Jerry came for a casting lesson with us probably about 3 years ago now. He's a philosophy lecturer in Aberdeen, so quite into kind of what makes the world go round, and I knew that fly fishing would be absolutely for him, so he's done a little bit of reading on it. He listens to all of your podcasts, and it's been amazing seeing him getting into this world of trout fishing. He learned to cast, went out onto the river, figuring out all the flies. He's been fortunate that he's surrounded by a lot of really good anglers on the Don that he's been able to befriend and go out with and learn. And now he's into his entomology. He's part of the bug life. He's now on the board of the Don. So the sport can completely suck you in, and it's kind of endless the amount that it can suck you into as well, isn't it?
I think that's the wonderful thing, and I know we were talking beforehand about, I think we never get on top of it all, do we? And I think that's part of it. And you've made sort of a very, very interesting point about the tougher conditions for salmon. And we always think that being a guide is a glamorous job, but there's also that management aspect of it as well, isn't there? That you're having to manage situations right now that are probably, from a guiding perspective, aren't the most ideal around, but that's a skill in itself as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's control the controllables, and if you can do that, so what are outcomes that we want? We want them to have an enjoyable day, learn something new, and have the best possible chance of catching a salmon. And salmon is so condition orientated. Trout. I was guiding today for a couple of the guys, and you've got a lot more up your sleeve with trout. You've got the Euro-nymphing rod, we've got the dry fly specific rod. We're exploring different waters, getting out the shade. It's just a different environment, and I love them both equally. But yeah, I think providing you can teach something new, provide an enjoyable experience, then you're on your way.
That sounds absolutely perfect. Well, I've really enjoyed chatting with you off mic and on mic at the moment. If people need to find you, where can they find you?
Just online is probably the best place, twinpeaksflyfishing.com, or if you're ever in Aberdeenshire, we've got a walk-in fly fishing school and tackle shop, so just come in, have a chat, and let's talk fly fishing.
Wonderful. We're going to talk some fly fishing some more, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a lot, Pete.
So the midges are biting a little bit at the moment, so I've come inside and I've caught up with Jerry Hock, and it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with him. He is one of the people who listens to the podcast and enjoys the magazine as well, and he's hugely passionate about the Don. And Jerry, I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about what the Don means to you and how you've actually got so involved with it.
Yeah, so I took up fishing about 4 or 5 years ago, a little mini midlife crisis. There could be worse ones, I suppose. And I lived in Aberdeen for 20 years, and I thought, is there much fishing around here? And it turns out there's a lot. So I started on the Don, and I just thought, I don't know, like fly fishing, I love the community around it, and I love the fact that there was this sort of link with conservation, and that led me into getting involved in some sort of citizen science stuff on the river. And my main aim as a fisherman and doing all this additional stuff is to learn the river. So there's lots of amazing rivers in this area, but the Don is my home water, and I just want to know that water inside out and backwards. So slowly but surely, very slowly, but hopefully quite surely, I'm trying to sort of develop that knowledge. So that's really what it means to me, just like to become intimate with a place and to know it well. And all these other anglers that they've sort of helped me out, like I can see they have that knowledge, so I'm really enjoying building that up.
And what are you fishing for? Do you have a species that's favourite to you, or is it anything?
So trout mostly, although I did slip to the dark side and started with the double hander, and I enjoy spey casting. I've caught one salmon on the D, and that was an amazing experience. But trout, I think, are probably at the moment my favourite fish, and partially that's to do with the fact they're a little bit easier to catch, but partially it's also to do with the fact that, like, I'm interested in the bugs and the ecology of the river, and the trout are directly connected to that because they're resident fish and they're sort of dependent on those insects. So, and of course the whole thing with the flies and the flies imitating the insects. So trout are my favourite fish, at least at the moment anyway.
And you talked about the bugs, and I noticed my number plate at the moment, and it was proper old school number plate that had bugs completely covered over it. Have you noticed anything in that time? And this year seems to be a good one. Would I brave enough to say that?
Well, so I'm definitely not an expert. So my actual job is I teach philosophy at university. So I have neither knowledge in fishing nor in ecology, but here I am. But I would definitely say we've had really good hatches this year so far. And I wonder if maybe the dry weather is bringing some of those flies out a bit earlier. And of course, the exciting thing about, so what we do is we're involved with a couple of charities, Bug Life Scotland and the Riverfly Partnership have this sort of invertebrate monitoring program that was originally set up by anglers, and we've rolled that out on the Don. And of course, the cool thing about that is you get to see what's on the bottom. And it's amazing. Like, you know, you go in thinking, even on a cold day when it looks like there's not a lot happening, you do kick sample 3 minutes and you have hundreds of, you know, stone clingers and agile darters and stonefly and caddis, and it's amazing. And it almost gives you it's almost like the next best thing to knowing the fish are there is that you know that the food is there, and that sort of helps you as an angler as well. So yeah, so the river's in good shape, I think.
That's wonderful to hear. And of course, you're talking about the bugs. So does that mean that fly dressing or fly tying has come in for you as well, as you're looking at things so closely?
So from listening to you, I know that you're not a fly tyer, or you have been, and maybe you like other people to do it. So I've given it a go. I like the idea of it. So let's see whether or not I have the patience to do the work to get good at it. So when I see other tyers, and I see how, so there's a few people that I sort of go to that, to buy flies from. So I'm trying to think now. So there's well, the other things, I'm obviously not from Aberdeen. I'm from Ireland originally. So I'd like to support my local tackle dealers, but I also try and support some of the Irish people. So Peter Driver, who's based in Ireland, so I buy from him sometimes. And Keith McDonald, who's a streamer guy, so buy from Keith. So yeah, so usually I get other people who know what they're doing, although I'd love to learn how to do it properly.
My only tip is I call mine rustic.
Okay.
So, or artisan flies. So that's the way that we can get around scruffy. That works perfectly for me. So, but it's been fantastic to meet you, and your enthusiasm and passion for the Don shines through. And you'd recommend people to get involved with these bug sampling surveys, would you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a game changer for me. Like, partially because if you stand in the river on your own, kick sampling, you just look like a weirdo. But if you can convince some other people to do it, and you can tie it into some bigger program, that also it helps. But the first thing is we have a bunch of volunteers that mostly they're anglers or they're ecologists, and like it builds a community. They get involved in this thing, then something else comes up. So basically we started off doing the bugs. Now we also do water monitoring for nitrates and phosphates with Earthwatch UK, and we also do bat monitoring for bats that feed off river bugs. So it just leads into all these different connections, and all these communities are all sort of interlinked in a way which I love as well. So yeah, definitely it's really, really good thing to get involved in.
That's great. And I think as us, as fly anglers, that we are weirdos who stand in the river anyway, aren't we?
Yes, I couldn't put it better myself. Absolutely.
Fantastic, Jerry. It's been wonderful to meet you.
Pleasure, Pete, and keep up the good work.
I've also bumped into Colin, who owns and runs Summers Tackle. And I thought it would be really interesting because I think for many of us, our dream would probably be have your own tackle shop, talk about fishing with people every day. And the reality of it is probably a little bit different, isn't it, Colin?
Slightly. A bit more testing.
Yeah. But Summers has been in your family for a long time now, hasn't it?
Yeah, my father bought it in 86. I just recently took it over from him last year. But I've been working there for, maybe 25 years, but on and off, been between university and everything. So, pretty well.
I know you look at all disciplines of angling, but I'm going to circle around fly fishing because it's the thing I know most about. But in all that time, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but in all that time, what do you think's the biggest change that you've seen in fishing or / tackle?
Oh, technology. Whether it's fly rods, fly reels, fly lines, how it's so much easier to cast a line now with the new technology makes a huge difference.
For you as an angler, if you get some valued time off, what is it that you like to do?
Salmon fishing. It's a bit lucky these days, but just being out there and just if you get that pool, it's something special for me.
It certainly is. It's been a long time for me, as many listeners will know. But do you think that working in fishing do you like to get away from it? Because somebody who's myself so deeply entrenched in it, do you find sometimes that you have something that takes you away from fishing, or you're perfectly happy in your world?
You're put under a bit more pressure when you're fishing because people expect you to catch fish. But I have other hobbies and family, so yeah, when I'm fishing, I do like to get away from it, but you do feel a bit of pressure.
I know exactly what you mean. And I talk about it on the podcast a fair bit about having been a fishing guide, that there was only ever downside because you're supposed to catch the most fish because you're the fishing guide. And if you don't, you're crap. And so there's no in between on that. So I'd never thought of it from your perspective as well, that comes into it. But I also wanted to think about consumerism as a whole, and you've been working in the industry such a long time. That has the internet been a game changer in your ability to reach people?
It is. We can now ship round the world. We are still probably more people through the door, local business. But yeah, the internet certainly has opened doors to places that we've never shipped before. But I would still say we're still quite a small family business, local business, and we like dealing with people face to face as well as online.
That sounds perfect to me. And I'm envisaging it's a hub for people, is it? And you have people, regulars, that will come in and chew the fat with you about fishing. And of course, being a hub, I guess you're able to give fishing information as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got fishing, not just fly fishing, as we spoke earlier. We've got sea fishing with no charters going out, pike fishing, coarse fishing, just a general, I'm going to say, knowledge base for everything in the northeast of Scotland.
Fantastic. And I've got to say, you've not asked me this, but please tell me your website address if people want to support your local tackle shop, but even go online and have a look. How do they find Summers Fishing?
Google's the best way, and it's summersfishingtackle.com.
Thanks so much, Connie.
Thank you very much.
I'm now joined by Richard McHaddy, who's captained the Scottish Stillwater and Rivers team. And one of the reasons I wanted to speak with him is that the waters are low right now. What are your recommendations? How are you approaching the river, and how should people be thinking about low water conditions? What's going through your mind right now when you go to the river?
What I'm looking for, Pete, is the low conditions we've got. The fish are really moving into some pockets. The water temperature is good, so they're starting to move into some pockets. And really nymph tactics, that's what you're looking for now. You're getting a wee bit of dry fly early morning, then they're going off of that, 10, 11 o'clock, then they are starting to really switch on to the nymph. Lightweight nymphing, double nymphing, single nymphing, stemmy nymphing, that's kind of tactics you're looking for.
And have you noticed anything, because I was talking earlier about the amount of bugs this year, have you noticed that the hatches have been quite prolific?
They have in certain areas of the river. So upper Don here seen some really good hatches this season. March Browns, LDOs. I think the olive upright's been a wee bit patchy. Downriver we've had better granum this year than they have upper river. So good hatches, but patchy in certain areas,
One of the things I've noticed on the river in the short time that I've been here, at home we have yellow maize, and they usually come before the danicas arrive. And where I am, that the fish don't tend to eat the yellow maize. Do you notice anything here? Do the fish get locked onto those at all?
Again, my experience yellow may on the River Don, they're no really a favourite of theirs. The Don trout they like olives. Yeah, so your LDOs, your medium olives, olive upright, your blue-winged olives. That's kind of predominantly what they're feeding on. The Tay, the Tummel, I've had some really good days on yellow may. Upper Don and that, not so much.
And I saw one danica as well. I guess it's probably not a river that gets so many, but is there a small hatch of those, and do the fish get interested in those?
Again, I've seen it on the river, but not enough to really get the fish going. And some of the guys that speak to fish at Upper Don, Middle Don, they're all seeing the odd danica going about, but not enough to really trigger the fish.
And for you, how's fly fishing looking right now? Because you're looking at, obviously, at the very sharp end of it from the competition perspective, and a lot of the things that you guys are playing with are filtering down to the rest of us. But I just wondered how the competition scene looks and fly fishing as a whole looks to you right now.
From a competition point of view, I've actually just packed in competition. I've retired from it just a few weeks back, but it's still healthy. But the general angler is getting a lot of information from the competition scene, and that's improved their fishing on likes of the River Don. They're all looking to start fishing upstream, nymph fishing, upstream dry fly fishing, all new tactics to them, So I think in general it's pretty good.
So you stepped away from the competition thing. Does that mean you got lots of plans for this year in a different way, that you don't have to do practices and preps and that sort of stuff? Have you got stuff planned for this year for your own fishing?
Yeah, I've got a lot of ideas, but if my family allows it, then yes. So, we've been involved in competitions for a long time. I've got a list of things that I would like to go and do now, but hopefully I get the time to do it.
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. Enjoy your retirement.
Yep, thank you.
One of the things I've picked up from this evening is the sense of community and friendship here. And it's been the overriding factor that's come across to me. And I've just bumped into Martin, who's the fisheries officer for the Don. What does that involve, Martin?
So on the Don, we protect salmon predominantly through the fishery board, but all species of freshwater fish are protected on the River Don. And most importantly, we have a brown trout protection order, which came into effect 1990 and has greatly helped the river and preserve the stock of brown trout because, it was persecuted by busloads of anglers coming up and, fishing all methods from live minnow, and they killed a lot of trout before the protection order was put in place. So that's made a big difference to the river. But we also cover pollution spills on the river and invasive species such as mink and plants as well, giant hogweed. So we kind of keep the biodiversity of the whole river going for the fish. So that's the main kind of priority of our jobs. But policing for poaching is the priority to stamp out,
And is poaching an issue?
Not so much nowadays. I mean, since the kind of ban and sale of wild fish came into effect, it kind of stopped the rod anglers killing salmon, which now, they're not allowed to kill any fish on the Don. We're a Category 3 river, and so any rod-caught salmon have to be returned by law nowadays, so that makes a huge difference. We still get some rod poaching in certain parts of the river at certain parts of the year, but netting side of things is dramatically reduced since the 70s, 80s.
And one of the questions I know listeners will want me to ask you, are you an angler yourself?
I am an angler myself, yeah. Started fly fishing at 9 on the Don for trout, then progressed into salmon fishing, and but over the last sort of 5 years I've came back into my trout fishing. Enjoy it quite a lot, yeah.
And it seems to me at least that obviously there are the runs of the salmon, but it really is the trout that people are talking about here, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. The trout fishing is, I'd say in the last sort of maybe 6-7 years, has came back to its best, and we're now seeing a huge kind of influx of overseas anglers coming to fish the Don, which is really good for the river. And it's great to see the beats all busy in April when the dry fly fishing is really at its peak.
Yeah, I think Al Peake was saying to me that he helped net a fish for a Frenchman today, that his net wasn't big enough. That must be pleasing for you to hear.
Yeah, there's some great specimen fish. I mean, the biggest I've seen is probably 10 pounds that was caught on the River Internationals a couple of years ago by a Welsh angler. But there's tales of bigger fish being lost by anglers, which is, brings them back to the river year after year.
That sounds absolutely extraordinary. And for you, as somebody who started fishing as a 9-year-old, have you seen those changes, and that love for the Don clearly is burning as bright as ever, and in a different way with your work as well? But have you seen many changes yourself since those changes to the fishing rules have come through. And I guess I'm almost answering this, aren't I, with the size of the fish that's coming through. But have you seen that from Hatch's point of view, from fish numbers, sizes, etc.?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as the salmon stocks kind of dwindled a wee bit now, more anglers are turning to brown trout fishing. And the river's cleaner than it's ever been. We used to have, 5 paper mills on the Don. It was heavily polluted industrial river. Now it's cleaner than ever, and the hatches of flies are slowly coming back. And this year we've had great hatches of March browns from opening day on the 15th of March. So yeah, it's been that kind of way. And I have noticed this year a kind of improvement and young anglers coming into fishing, which is the main thing, because without them there's not going to be any in the future years. We need them to keep things going and keep numbers up in angling clubs.
That makes a lot of sense. Martin, it's been lovely chatting with you, and it's been a fun evening, hasn't it?
Great evening, yeah. Nice to see everybody, and out with our waders. It's been good to meet everybody and have a chat, and just nice social meeting. Definitely.
That's what fishing's all about, right?
Exactly, yeah. Get the social side of it, and then, yeah, the fishing's always a bonus, but it's nice to have a chat and a drink with friends.
I've taken the dog for a walk, sitting down with a cup of coffee and reflecting on last night. I always get nervous ahead of meeting new people, but there was no need to worry. Everyone was so friendly, everyone was so welcoming, and we have a bond. We all have a bond. If you're listening to this, you have that bond too, that you love fly fishing. And that was the fun part of it, talking to people about that and what it means to them and their passion. And I spoke to a few of them last night, that hopefully that came across as well. And our community is a wonderful one. And, being based where I am down in the bottom of the country, right to the very top, people feel just like we do about it. And that was so nice. I should shout out Mike Barrio, who was there as well last night, purveyor of wonderful fly lines. I've been trying for quite some time to get him on the podcast, but he doesn't want to do it just now. But we got the chance to catch up, and when he had the fishery a number of years ago now, and I went across and saw him, and it was lovely to talk about that and talk to so many good people about fishing. We're lucky we do this. Met with Sandy this evening for one last go. I caught a couple of fish on nymphs in some fast water just under the dry. Saw a fish rise where a bridge used to be. It was a downstream presentation and I caught it. Felt like the right place to end, so I snipped my fly off and watched Sandy fish. So that's a wrap on the trip. What have I taken from it? It's been everything I wanted it to be. I've met old friends, I've met new friends, but most of all, I've spent time with my dog. I always spend a lot of time with him, but in a different environment. It was fun. It somehow made us a little bit closer. And I remembered that this trip isn't just about me going fishing, it's his trip too. So when he felt a little bit tired out or didn't really fancy it, we'd go back. It didn't matter. I've caught enough fish, so it wasn't really about that for me. It was about us being together, spending time together, and doing this road trip together. I've loved fishing Tilliefoure. If you are on socials, give Jason a like. He's one of those really warm, kind, generous people, trying to do something good. He cares about the fish too. As you heard earlier, that he doesn't want the salmon fished for right now because the river's too low. I like that. He's a good person. We're lucky to have people like that in there. And he loves this fishing very, very much too. It means a lot to him on many, many levels. So if you do find them on FishPal, head over and have a look. It's a little piece of heaven. It's somewhere quiet. It's peaceful. It's beautiful. There's a few trout too. I've loved it. I've loved every second of it. It's been the trip I wanted it to be. and probably a whole lot more too. This has been a special road trip version of the Fly Culture podcast. I hope you've enjoyed how I've tried to mix things up in this one as well, and got to speak to people locally and about what the Don means to them and how much they love it, and hopefully that's come across to you as well. It's been really, really good fun. Thanks so much for listening to the Fly Culture podcast.
The Fly Culture podcast is brought to you in association with Fly Culture, a quarterly published magazine owned and run by fly anglers. When it comes to fly fishing, we've got you covered.